The law is, in a general sense, the rules of how we govern our lives, govern our business transactions, govern our relationship with other people. The law also governs how the state or the government can affect our lives, can determine whether or not somebody is arrested, can go to jail, and what their rights are.
Well, the way the laws are made in this country, it starts with the people that we elect to our government. We place the issues of our lives and our cities and our societies in front of them and ask them to develop ways that we might address certain issues or problems or crimes, and they come together and they devise a rule. And they all have to agree on the rule, and once they agree and they pass it, the rule becomes a law.
What is important with the law is that it is written down, that it is accessible to everyone, and that the rules don't change based on the whim of a king or a general or whoever has the biggest gun. It is established and it's fair for everyone.
There are opportunities for us to be involved in making the laws, and I think that's what makes it a little bit different than some other countries. Although, you know, in many democracies this is the case, I think that here in the United States we take seriously that statement, you know, by the people, for the people. So the laws are by the people and for the people.
The Constitution in the United States is the basic law. It is a framework that determines who has power and how that power can be exercised. And in this instance, it's the people that give government its power, but they also put restrictions on it, and that's where the Constitution is very important. It's like almost like the way a skeleton is to the human body. It's the basic framework that all laws are based on, and that sets really the limits on what government can do and what authority government has. It creates the office of the president, and it puts limitations on what the president can do. There's the concept of checks and balances, so the president doesn't have all the power in our country, but it's divided between the legislature, which in our case is the Congress, the House of Representatives, and the Senate. That's all specified in the Constitution. And then the third branch of government is the judiciary, the court system. And in the end, it's the court system, the Supreme Court, which makes the determination as to how to interpret the Constitution. And that's a very important power. But all three of those branches, the executive, the legislative, and the judicial, all work together, but they also have checks and balances on each other so one doesn't become too powerful. The Bill of Rights is technically the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. And during the time that the Constitution was being drafted, there was a great deal of controversy because there was a fear that the central government, the national government, would become too powerful. And so the Bill of Rights was something that was championed by a man by the name of George Mason, who was one of the early patriots from Virginia. And he insisted with a great deal of controversy at the time that there be a Bill of Rights. And of course, we know them now. For instance, the First Amendment, which is the freedom of speech, freedom of religion, is obviously one of the most important ones of those. The justice system, or you could call it the judicial system or the court system, I think really can be divided into two major parts. There is the criminal justice system, which deals with the criminal laws and is primarily concerned with punishment of people who commit crimes, which can range from the most serious, like murder and robbery, to smaller crimes, petty thefts and traffic violations and things of that sort. That's the criminal law. The second part has to do with what we call civil law or the civil justice system. And those primarily deal with people who have disputes and the resolution of disputes over business transactions, divorces, disputes primarily about money, but not necessarily about money, about property rights and things of that sort. The end result of the civil justice system is not necessarily for punishment, but to provide reimbursement for people who are injured or who have lost, who have been damaged as a result of something that somebody else does. The civil justice system generally does not result in anybody going to jail, although it is possible if you violate a court order or you're held in contempt. Criminal justice system, however, is based on punishment, and in many instances in the criminal justice system, a defendant who is found guilty can and will go to jail or prison based on the nature of the crime that they have committed.